Hi. Hello, everyone. My name is Shannen Henry. I am an environmental scientist. I'm a sustainable fashion connoisseur, and I happen to be the founder of Cocoa Fiber. So my first question for everyone is, who loves chocolate? Yes. Cool. So I see obviously lots of hands. Chocolate is definitely a global delicacy and appreciated by so many of you. But what many people don't know is the waste that the industry causes. So for some insight, for every chocolate bar that you eat, we are only using 25% of the biomass of a cocoa pod, which are the cocoa beans, to develop chocolate. The remaining 75% of that biomass is either dumped at the farm site or it's incinerated, which contributes to global carbon and methane emissions. And then, what's my personal connection to chocolate and cocoa? So I think a few other American fellows are also first-generation American, like I am, which means that my parents, my grandparents emigrated to the US, and my grandparents in particular emigrated from a tiny island in the Caribbean called Grenada, which just so happens to have a really lush rainforest. And so a few years ago, when my grandfather passed away, who was a cocoa farmer, by the way, I got to visit his farm. And the environmental scientist in me thought, okay, great, we're making chocolate, but we have all of this beautiful cocoa pod that you can see in the photograph that is just being dumped. So why don't we transform that into something useful? So I envisioned immediately a circular economy where we could create chocolate, use the cellulosic elements to create fabrics, fibers, and even give back to the farmers in the form of fertilizer. So creating this entire circular process within the chocolate industry. Okay, next question is, who here would consider themselves to be a fashionista? Okay. Cool. So whether or not you consider yourself to be fashionable, we're all required to wear clothing. It's like moral law. So we all are making an impact with our consumption choices. And I bring this up to mention that cocoa fiber is tackling a dual problem, which is, yes, there's the waste of the chocolate industry. Farmers aren't making, they're making about $3 a day at the cocoa farm in the cocoa farming ecosystem, but also the fashion industry. We have some people who are focused on similar projects. The fashion industry contributes about 10% of global carbon emissions annually. And then that doesn't account for microplastics accumulation, which is about 35% of all microplastics accumulation in our oceans is due to polyester fabrics. So we are trying our best to reduce the amount of polyester in the textile market, as it currently makes up about 67%. And where this is going to connect to shared agency is that this is what we call an industrial symbiosis approach. So we're using the waste of one industry, the chocolate industry, as the resource for another, in this case, the fashion industry. And I wanted to connect that to shared agency at the people level, because similar to how we are organized here at this conference, we all are serving as resources for one another. So shared agency at Cocoa Fiber is, shared agency at Cocoa Fiber is the collaboration between designers, between scientists, between farmers. But here, it's like the sharing of energy, of knowledge, and building capacity among one another. And so this is just a display of that dual problem, the fashion industry and the cocoa industry. And so my solution is cocoa fiber. So this is a literal visual representation of industrial symbiosis in action. And then I want to continue on to community-led impact in particular. So I've talked about the cocoa farming community, obviously being able to have an impact on farmers so that they have more equitable living. There's more economic equity since we're helping to develop value-added products locally as opposed to extracting as the chocolate industry has done in the past. And then I wanted to talk about the Sustainable Design Impact Hub. So very, very early on in the beVisioneers journey, we were asked to create like a survey and send it out to stakeholders. But instead, I created this 4-day-long event on the island of Grenada and brought all of the farmers together, all of the small business owners together. And I somehow convinced the Planning Committee of the UN General Assembly to let me borrow their concept of the SDG Media Zone. So all of the panel discussions were structured around the Sustainable Development Goals. And in the first year, we had 120 people attend. And so it was a great way to learn about other sustainable projects that were happening on the island so that I wasn't stepping on anyone's toes, but also this knowledge exchange and fostering industrial symbiosis at the people level. And then as it relates directly to the beVisioneers community, some of you are in this picture. Some of you are in this room who are in this picture. And this is one of our local hubs where we really get to have that knowledge exchange, be a part of each other's ecosystems, and I hope that we will continue to think of our relationships and our networking in this industrial symbiotic way, really reflective of nature, because in nature, nothing acts in isolation. So I hope that that is our takeaway, that we remember that. So thank you so much.